I'm going to show you guys how to make dehydrated spaghetti for taking on your backpacking trips on trail. What I'm specifically going to show you that might be different from other videos that you've seen is how to vacuum seal this at the end of the dehydration process into a mylar bag, so that A, it stays longer because it's vacuum sealed, and B, it takes up less pack weight in your bag or pack or bear vault. And you can just pour the hot water directly into the bag and eat out of it just like a mountain house. So very, very convenient. I've done it multiple times and it works out great. This recipe in particular, I've never had problems with the ground beef rehydrating or being like gravel, as I hear some people, due to a couple of things that I'm going to do to prepare it to dehydrate and rehydrate better. So it's going to start with making spaghetti. And this is my recipe. You can do any recipe that you'd like. Really, it's just making the sauce. The key is cooking the ground beef. And if you use beef or any meat for that matter, any ground meat, fat is the enemy. In the beginning of the video, I showed you some of the equipment that I'm going to be dehydrating this stuff with. So that's going to be my Nesco Dehydrator, as well as a vacuum sealer and a scale to measure these out. And I'll show you how I get that done. For the bags, this is the end product right here. This one's not yet vacuum sealed. It's some chicken curry I did the other day. But we're gonna do the spaghetti and I'll show you how to vacuum seal it all together. Mylar bags. These are, I believe, 10-ounce bags. I'm not 100% sure. I'll post it in the video below. And I'm just gonna start processing some of the vegetables as I brown this meat up. So I'll take you guys along for that. Here we go. All right. We got some water boiling over here. Got my iron skillet warm and coming to temp where it's actually really warm. So we're just gonna put the beef in. All right, we're gonna start with browning some beef. First part, what you wanna do is break these up as much as possible. So we got the beef browning. So we're gonna come over here and chop up these bell peppers. I like to take the lids off, put those aside, chop those up separately, remove any stems, and then de-seed these. Alright, now that we got the beef completely brown, what we're going to do is go ahead and bring it over here to the colander and strain it. Bring it over to the colander. And that's when I get our boiling water from the stove. And pour that directly over the top of it. Move it around. So when this hot water starts, hit it with that too. And the idea here is you want the water running off down below it without a lot of grease bubbles on top, like an oil slick. Once you don't really have any of that running off anymore, you know you've degreased the majority of the beef, and then you're in a good spot. Start with a little bit of olive oil, and then our mirepoix. Then we're going to add in alright, so while your vegetables are sauteing, I'm going to break those down. We are going to start a pot of boiling water over here for the noodles. tomatoes. There we go. Put about that much in. This is Italian seasoning. Good amount of that. Some red pepper flakes. A little bit of parsley. Pepper. And sugar. We're going to take a bay leaf, throw it in there, get it to a simmer, and then let it cook there for about an hour. Alright, we've been simmering for a little while now. I'm actually going to add in the ground beef at this point. Okay, now we got a rolling boil on our water. We're going to take our spaghetti and break it into thirds. Because we're going to marry both sauces together here in just a moment. All that goodness. Oh my goodness, it's so good. I might have to have some of this. So we're going to mix this all up and let this sit in the refrigerator overnight. The noodles will soak up all the residual fat and any of the liquid. It actually makes it rehydrate a lot easier. And the beef doesn't turn out to be like gravelly. Actually rehydrates really nice. So give this a good stir. Put this whole rigmarole into the fridge overnight. Alright, good morning guys. So the spaghetti has been sitting overnight in these tubs. And it's been soaking up all the sauce into the noodles. So what we're going to do now is excuse me, open it up, take a knife and then cut this into small little pieces, and we're going to break it out and put it onto the dehydrator. Okay, there we go. So now take the dehydrator, and a couple of tricks here. When I bought a Nesco, it doesn't come with these silicone mats. But I bought these silicone mats. They make it easier to spread out the food into a nice even layer, and things don't fall through the holes that come on the dehydrator. They're cheap. These are by Bright Kitchen. Recommend that. So we're going to take our dehydrator, and I'll just show you how to do one of these. Get a spoon. Spoon some of it on here. In little chunks. I do 4 little piles. And then start spreading it out. And the goal here is to get everything completely spread, no big clumps. Use the whole surface area of the silicone mat. So then once I get this all spread out, then what I like to do is get a little dirty here and create little kind of pockets and holes so that the air can kind of get in. But I wouldn't put much more than that on any single tray. Okay. Now we got this evenly spread and put onto the dehydrator. And then the next step's pretty easy. You just put the lid on the dehydrator. I set this to about 155 degrees, and I'm going to start it at 9 hours on dehydrating. I'm going to check it about 4 hours in and then flip things over, so I'll show you guys that process about 4 hours from now. Let it run for about 9 hours. It can take anywhere between 9 to 11 hours to completely dehydrate, and you just kind of call it by ear. So put the lid on, set it to 155, and plug it in. Alright, it has been 4 hours since we started the dehydrator, so what we're going to do now is check it. Looks like it's coming along. You'll notice like here still needs a lot more work, so what we'll do is we'll take these off. Get ourselves a spoon and reposition everything. Alright, now we take all this, put it back on. Put the lid back on. 4 more hours. Alright, we're back. And we've been on for about 10 hours now. So let's check. And that is looking pretty done. It's like a night and day difference compared to what it did look like. Put this tray over here. What you're looking for are the noodles to be breakable. Yeah, that's pretty good. They just break in half like that. Yep. Alright, so we're good. And then we're going to start the vacuum sealing weighing process. So what that's going to need are your mylar bags, a scale. These are the bags that come with the vacuum sealer. They are vacuum bags. And what you need to do is cut yourself some strips like this. And then you can use these to seal everything in the mylar bag. But let's get this unloaded, and then we will show you how to vacuum seal and get these ready for trail. Alright, now what we're going to do, guys, is break this up. So I just like to do it with my hands. What you're trying to do is break all the long leftover pieces down into small little chunks, and that's actually going to be pretty easy because it's very dry. Also, the smaller the pieces, the easier it is to rehydrate. Do a couple things earlier. If you don't have these silicone mats, you can also just use parchment paper and just cut out the circles to fit. But I like the silicone mats because I do this a lot, and they are reusable, and cutting out parchment paper is tedious. Alright, we're in the final stage. Now it's time to bag this stuff up. So you're going to take your 10-ounce mylar bag. I like the 10 ounces because they are pretty compact, and when you suck all the air out of them, they don't take up a lot of room, especially if you have to use a bare vault. So they're really, really great. You also have the flat bottom so that you can use them on trail as your actual eating dish, saving weight for you. My target for a meal in the backcountry is anywhere between 150 to 170 grams. All right, now comes the trick. How to vacuum seal these in mylar. If you try to do this and just stick this in here, it won't work. The metal will pinch together and it won't actually get the suction to suck the air out of the bag. So how do you hack it? Well, you take one of the rolls that comes with your vacuum sealer and you cut out the strip like I just talked about before. This strip has a bunch of grooves in it that, even when compressed, still allow air to be sucked through, which allows the vacuum chamber to actually effectively suck the air out of the bag. So in order to do this, let me see if I'm getting a good angle. I take the strip and I lay it in like so that it touches. You can see that. the outside of the lip of the bag. Let's see if I can get a better angle for light, like that. And you see how the strip goes into the bag. Hold it there in place, pinching the bag shut so you get it nice and flat, and see how the piece is sticking out. Place the mylar bag within the chamber, and it helps if it's all flat, like so. And then on mine, the heat element is right here. So I put it above the zipper pouch. That way it will create a heat seal on the mylar, completely seal it after it vacuums it out. And once you use this in the field, the open and close quick release on here, I can't remember what it's called, but that will still actually work. So when you pour water into it, you can still zip it back shut. And then that way, it will completely rehydrate in the field. So holding all that together, this is kind of the tricky part, and with your sealer you will figure out the best way that works. Push it down, close it, and vacuum it. And you know it's working when you get all the crinkly crinkles. And I hold it down nice and tight as it goes through the seal process, because then it heat seals it, which then completely vacuum seals this thing tight. And then your food will last for a long time, especially if you store them in the freezer. And then when you take them on trail, they take up less room and they taste fresher. So there you have it. You got the Ziploc portion still functional. It's heat sealed here. The only thing is this tag is still hanging out, which is fine, but the heat seal actually sealed it all shut and melted it together. So then when you're in the field, you just tear here, put your water in, and then Ziploc it back shut. There you go. All right, there you have it. Dehydrated spaghetti, that's my recipe, as well as the method that I use to hack these bags so you can use them as your food eating container, as well as vacuum sealing it and heat sealing it, so that will keep dramatically longer, especially if you freeze them. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. There's some other recipes that work really well. Obviously, anything that you could dehydrate will work with that vacuum sealing method and with these bags. So I'll link a couple other recipes that I've done in the field before. I will recommend the spaghetti. This has been my best experience from rehydrating it in the field. The beef tends to rehydrate all the way, and it's the arguably most satisfying at the end of a long hike. So I encourage you guys to try it and enjoy. All right, thanks. Bye.